It's Friday, March 31st, and I just finished an audiobook called Mascara and Murder by Gina Lamanna, and it's part of the Murder in Style series. It's book 3 in the Murder in Style series, and I read the first 2 books, but I read those in physical books, and I do really enjoy this author and her books. They're kind of romance mystery. And I did really like the first 2. It'd been a while since I read them. And this time I tried the audiobook for version 3. And I don't know if it's because I did it on audiobook as opposed to reading the physical book like I did with the other 2. But I didn't like it as much as the first 2. I think the first 2 I probably rated 4 or 5 stars, and this one I gave 3 stars. And I don't know if it was just that the story didn't grip me as much, or if it was because it was audio. Because some of the ways the narrator said things started to just become very noticeable to me. And of course that's how it's written. It's not necessarily the narrator's fault. But I noticed them saying a lot. I said, Cooper said, Betty said, whatever said. So, and that was coming up a lot, and it started to become noticeable to me and kind of like it was too much. And plus just the way that the narrator said it, that maybe with their accent, I don't know, they would say, I said, Cooper said. So it was like almost drawn out. I don't know, it just started to bug me a little bit. But it was still entertaining, and I still liked hearing the story. It just wasn't up there as a favorite. And I think you would benefit by reading the first ones before this one. You don't have to, but you'd just be more interested in the story. So it's this Hollywood stylist who moves to, her name's Jenna McGovern, she moves to Blueberry Lake, Minnesota from her big Hollywood life as a stylist because she breaks up with her boyfriend and is in the tabloids and needs to get away from it all. So she moves to Blueberry Lake, Minnesota, where her mother lives, and starts to work in her mother's thrift shop, basically. And in the town, she ends up having 2 love interests, the police chief and a fireman. In this book, a movie is being shot in Blueberry Lake because working on the movie is her ex-boyfriend. And he chose Blueberry Lake as the location because it's affordable. And while this movie is being recorded, somebody gets murdered, and Jenna's on the case despite what the police chief tells her not to investigate. And so it just kind of goes through all of that. She's trying to figure out who did it and be helpful, but of course that gets her into trouble. And it's got a very small town character feel. There's characters of this small town that of course are excited about this movie being in town and want to be extras in the movie and all that. So it is a cute story, but just not one that is a 5-star. I have just finished Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by L. Cosimano, I think. And this is the sequel to Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I'm recording this on my phone because I did not bring my camera with me today because I did not know that I would finish this today. But I want to record them as promptly after finishing as I can for you. And I enjoyed this one. I'm pretty sure I rated the first one 5 stars and really enjoyed it. And then this one I enjoyed as well, but I feel like not quite as much as the first one. So I rated it 4 stars. And it's a fun comedic mystery. Once again, Finlay is getting herself into all kinds of predicaments, being in places she shouldn't be, and having things happen to her that she didn't intend on. And yeah, just lots of mishaps and things like that. Also, as with a lot of the books I've read lately, there's a love triangle between her and a detective, and her and a young bartender, soon-to-be lawyer that she met. And that seems to be a pretty common theme. And for some reason, one of them is always a police officer. But yeah, it was entertaining, a fun read, easy to get through, with some mystery, detective elements to it. There is a third one, so I plan to read that one as well. And yeah, don't have a whole lot to say about the plot, because if you haven't read the first one, that won't really matter to you. But if you like fun mystery detective stories that also have kind of a comedic element, then definitely check out this series. And if you enjoyed the first one, I think you would enjoy the second one. It is Wednesday, April 12th, and I just finished Breely from the Samantha March The Six series. She has a series of what is going to be 6 books about 6 different girlfriends, each book from a different girlfriend's perspective, but also it helps if you read them in order because it carries the story along through each girlfriend. So it starts with Christy, then I believe it's Scarlett, then Lauren, and now Breely. It had been a while since Lauren, but I was able to pick right back up even without refreshing or reading the other books. And so in this we follow Breely's story, and Breely is a yoga guru of sorts, has her own yoga studio, is very career focused and business minded and all of that. And then she unexpectedly gets pregnant. So this story is kind of starting from the beginning of her pregnancy and what decision she makes regarding that pregnancy, all of that. So I enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I rated it 4 stars. At the end, I got a little bit emotional, but not because of the story of Breely, but because we see a hint, the epilogue is a hint into Nora's story, who is the next story, and from the first few words, I don't know why, it just got to me. And I'll be very interested to read Nora's story when it is complete. I know Samantha's working on it now, and I will be interested to pick that one up and read it. And then, of course, reading the acknowledgments from Samantha and just knowing from following her and being a member of hers what she went through trying to write this book, and there's reasons why it took her as long as it did. Huge life changes that she's gone through, some of which I can relate to, and some of which we were kind of going through at the same time. So just knowing what she was going through while trying to complete this book made it all that more impactful. So I'm happy I was able to read it. And if you haven't read the 6 series and you like chick lit books, books about girlfriends, friendship, definitely give it a shot. Start with Christy, and I think you will enjoy it. But that's the latest. So I will see you soon. It is Thursday, April 20th, and I just finished another book. It was an audiobook called Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. And I believe it is the second in a series because it says something about, I forgot already, but something about sisters is book number 2. And well, I never read book number 1. But evidently you didn't need to because it didn't affect my reading of this book at all. But it's one I heard about from a couple of people on BookTube. And as I'm reading more and watching more BookTube and following more Bookstagram, I'm learning about different tropes in books or different themes. And apparently one that's common, at least that I know of right now, and possibly has been common for a long time, but at least in the last couple of years, for romance books, is fake dating. So that is the trope in this book. So we have Dani and Zeb, I think, I don't know, Zafia, I think is how you say it. And they know each other through work, and they start fake dating in order to boost up Zed's social media feed and help his company grow. And Dani has very specific ideas about dating and she doesn't want to get into a serious relationship. She just wants to have a good time, no strings attached. Zed is more of a romantic. He loves romance novels, the idea of happily ever afters. So it's a perfect scenario for them to fake date because there's no way that they could end up liking each other because they have completely opposite ideas of what they want out of life. And I don't want to say too much or give too much away, but I enjoyed it. I rated it 3 stars because it was a fun, cute story, but there was a lot of adult content in it, which I wasn't initially expecting going into it. And while I'm okay with that to a certain extent, I don't love it when it's a good portion of the book, and especially when it gets, how do I want to put this, beyond the risque and a little into being a little bit dirty is the only way I can put it. So didn't love that part of it, but if I take that part out of it, I did like the story. So if you like romance, if you like the fake dating trope, then you might enjoy this one. But yeah, it didn't make me want to necessarily read any others in the series or seek out this author again, but I did enjoy this particular story. It's Tuesday, April 25th. I'm home from work, just ran an errand, but I have a book to share with you and didn't get a chance to tell you about it until now. The book I finished was Shopaholic Ties the Knot, which is the 3rd book in the Confessions of a Shopaholic book series, and I read at least one of those before and quite enjoyed them, and this was no exception. I ended up liking it more than I thought I was going to. So it is the main character of the Shopaholic series, Becky Bloomwood, is getting married. So we're following her wedding planning, and she gets herself into all kinds of crazy situations to the point that she ends up having 2 weddings scheduled on the same day. And one is in New York and one is in England. And the more she tries to fix things and make them better, the worse it gets. And I don't think I said yet, I rated it 5 stars because I did end up enjoying it much more than I thought I would. And there was even one part that I was reading and it was funny to the point that I was laughing out loud, cracking up at it, and couldn't contain myself and just laughed to myself. I was letting it out, laughing out loud. Don't know any other way to say it, but that's what was happening. And while that can happen quite a bit in TV shows, movies, it's very rare for a book to do that for me. So that was quite entertaining and fun. And I really didn't know how things were going to go for Becky and how she was going to get out of this situation, but you'll have to read if you want to find out. But if you like romance, chick lit, or just want a light, fun, entertaining read, or like reading about weddings, I would check it out because as I said, I enjoyed it. And I don't remember if I said at the beginning it was an ebook. But yes, entertaining and light, and it took me a little longer than usual to read, not because it was hard to get through or took more time to read. I just wasn't reading as consistently. I missed a few days here and there, so that's the only reason it maybe took a little bit longer. But yeah, another 5-star one for you to check out. And I am currently not listening to a book or reading a book, and I don't know what's coming next. So we will see, because the ones I have on hold from the library, at least the ebook ones, are not available yet, and I don't want to get a physical book from the library because I've been putting off these ones, and I think I only get so many times to put them off. And So I will probably, most likely, end up reading one that I got free on Amazon that I haven't read yet, so that way if one from the library becomes available, I can just put that other one on hold. Do you really need to know any of this? I don't think so, but this is my thought process. But check out the Shopaholic book if you're interested. Oh, also, that series is by Sophie Kinsella. I don't think I said. Sorry. End of the day, my thoughts are not as together as they probably should be, but there you go. See you for the next book. It's Monday, May 1st, and I just finished another book, and this was a fast read for me. I think I finished it in about 5 days, which for me is pretty fast. It's called Lovely Girls by Margot Hunt, and this was one that was given free at the beginning of every month. Amazon has a few books that they release to you, and you can get one title free as a Prime member. So this is one of the ones that I chose, and I don't know if it was, I think it was from a few months ago, but I just got around to reading it. Never heard of this author before, never really heard about this book, only chose it based on the description I read through Amazon, and it was a good one. That's why I got through it so fast, and I rated it 5 stars. And we start by following the 2 main characters of Kate and Alex. Kate is Alex's mother, and they've just recently moved to Florida from where they used to live in Buffalo, because some things happened in Buffalo that Kate wanted a fresh start for Alex, so she thought, we'll move to a whole new place, have a fresh start where nobody knows us. So they moved to this town in Florida. And then as time goes on, they start to learn some things about some of the people in town, or Kate, well, actually both of them do. Let's just say this particular town has some mean girls, and not just mean girls in high school, mean girl adults as well. And they take it to a whole nother level. But mostly we hear Kate's perspective, but we hear Alex's perspective through her former therapist from Buffalo told her to keep a video diary to kind of keep track of her thoughts, be able to have someone to talk to, and just say whatever she wanted. So she starts keeping this video diary for herself. Not that she's not posting it anywhere, it's just for herself. And as part of that, she begins to kind of record not only her thoughts, but what's going on around her. And that will come into play a number of times. But I don't want to give too much of the story or the plot away. If you like suspenseful thriller books, I think you would enjoy it. It definitely kept my interest, kept me wanting to read to see what was going to happen. And that's where I'll leave it, because I don't want to give too much of it away if you do decide to read it. But a good one, and I enjoyed it. Don't know what else to say. Let me know if you check it out and what you think of it. But that's all for now, and I'll see you for the next book. It's Tuesday, May 9th. I finished a book at lunch today, but I did not have time at work to update you on it. And the book I finished was an ebook called Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I picked this one because I had heard a lot of hype about it, I think on YouTube and maybe Instagram, but I had heard a couple of people rave about it. And typically when that happens, I want to read a book and give it a try. However, maybe I was missing something, but I didn't quite understand what all the fuss was about. As I was reading it, I kept waiting for the excitement to happen for me, to see what everybody was talking about, and it never did. And I think in a way, because it was so hyped up, it made me like it a little bit less. It also just ended very abruptly without really kind of having closure on things. And I think I understand what the author was trying to do, but it just was not a book that I really enjoyed very much. it was about a relationship over a number of years between two people who kind of felt like they didn't fit in, dealt with various things emotionally and in their home life. I don't even really know the best way to explain it to you because it really was just about these two people and their lives, but nothing much really happened with them. So I don't know any other way to say it than I didn't really see what the point was, like what point they were trying to get across or what the point of the story was. Not that there needs to be a point necessarily, but it wasn't entertaining either. So I kind of was going back and forth about rating it 2 or 3 stars because I didn't find it hard to read. I didn't find myself wanting to not finish it, but I also was kind of waiting and trying to get to, okay, where is this? What is it about this that everybody's talking about? So that's kind of what kept me reading, and like I said, it never happened. So I did end up going with 2 stars just because I do feel like it's a bit overhyped and it wasn't really a story that I enjoyed or connected or resonated with. So unfortunately, it's a 2-star for me, but I know there's people who have other very different opinions. I've seen a lot of 5-star reviews, so I don't know. I guess it just wasn't my taste. I also read that they made a TV show of it, so I'd be curious to see if I was to try to watch the TV show, if I like it better than the book, if it makes more sense than the book. So who knows, maybe I'll give that a shot, and if I do, I'll update you. But that's the latest. It is Sunday, May 14th, and I just finished an audiobook, The Baby Decision, How to Make the Most Important Choice of Your Life. This is a nonfiction book by Merle Bombardieri, and it started off really strong, then wasn't so strong, but overall I found it helpful. I rated it 3 stars, and I think it's a good read for anybody that is of childbearing age and maybe goes back and forth about wondering if they want children, feels undecided, but also is good for people who think they really know that they don't want children or think that they do want children, to see alternative perspectives and that sort of thing. And I can't say that it will definitely help you make that decision, but it does have some good exercises that you can go through and go back to kind of be thinking about it. So if you're looking for a helpful resource like that, that might be a good one to check out. And I checked in on my reading goal, and at the beginning of the year I made a goal of 52 books, and with this one I am at 26. So Goodreads tells me that I'm 6 books ahead of my goal, so we'll see if I can keep that up. I'm thinking about toward the end of the year, when I'm doing my reading wrap up, maybe do some different things, like how many books were mystery, how many books were nonfiction, how many books had blue covers. I don't know, I've seen people do different videos like that, and I could try to go through and maybe share some of those stats with you. But I also saw a video recently that I thought might be kind of fun to do, where I could go back through my Goodreads for, say, the past 5 years or however long you want. I mean, I can't go back super far. I think I started in 2013 maybe, but I would say 5 years might be a good point, and see what all the 5-star books were and see maybe what they have in common. So that could be something fun as well, but that would be a lot of book content at the end of the year, so maybe I should do some of these sooner than that. But let me know if you'd like to see anything like that, or if there are any book videos that you've seen people do that you would like me to do as well. And I'll see you for the next one. So Friday, May 19th, and I just finished another book. This is going to be the last book for this book vlog, and then I'll start a new one. But this was called Romantic Comedy. If it doesn't get you with that title, or if it didn't get me with that title, I don't know what would. By Curtis Sittenfeld, and I've read one other book by Curtis Sittenfeld, and for some reason thought it was a male, but when I finished this book, the author's photo came up, and apparently it's a woman. And it's also a Reese's Book Club pick, and I did enjoy it. I rated it 5 stars. So Sally is the main character. She's a writer for TNF, which is like SNL, a fictional SNL, Saturday Night Live. She's a writer for that show. She, in working on the show, of course, meets lots of celebrities and things. And there's this rule she feels where it's okay for average-looking everyday men to marry or date supermodels, beautiful, gorgeous women half their age. But she doesn't see it happen really much in the reverse of a everyday, average, normal-looking woman dating a young, hot guy. And so that kind of comes into play. And on this episode of the show that she's working on, they are having a singer on, but they are doubling not only as the musical guest, but also as the host. And it's kind of interesting to see, granted it is fiction, but it is kind of interesting to see what it might be like behind the scenes at SNL, how things work, because it goes through her week, Monday to Saturday, what happens, how things work behind the scenes. I had to move, it's too noisy down there. But she's working with the musical guest host, whose name is Noah, on skits and coming up with skits and how they'll be written and all of that. And sparks seem to fly, but Sally can't believe that it's true, and she kind of doubts herself and self-sabotages and all of that. And it was just a really nice, cute, fun story. Kept my interest the whole time. If you like love stories, romantic comedy movies, if you like SNL, or maybe just want to learn a little bit more about the behind the scenes or what it could be like. I don't know if it's accurate, but yeah. If you tend to like romance and romantic comedies, chick lit books, all that sort of stuff, if you like romantic comedy movies, I think you would enjoy this, so check it out.